There's been quite a lot of movement at Six Flags corporate and the way that park presidents versus regional managers have worked previously. For Over Texas, that means that we lost Jeffrey Siebert. Now, Jeffrey was an excellent leader by any metric you care to use, and it's okay to mourn the loss of a good leader, but only up to a point. Because when you take a look at what actually happened with Six Flags leadership, Over Texas absolutely won the lottery. Stick around, let's take a look. In May of 2025, Six Flags tried an $8 billion gamble. They deleted the park president role at every single property. By April 2026, the company changed their view and reinstated dedicated leadership at these 10 flagship properties. Let's take a look at the park leaders, the parks in question, and what it all means for Six Flags Over Texas. These 10 leaders were chosen for very specific reasons. Christopher Mortensen at Canada's Wonderland, Bridget Bywater at Carowinds, Colleen Brady at Cedar Point, Tony Caraviano at Kings Island, Rafi Kaperlan at Knott's Berry Farm, Mike Fennell at Six Flags Great Adventure, John Krasnick at Six Flags Great America, Brian Ording at Six Flags Magic Mountain, Richard Pretlow at Six Flags Over Georgia, and then Pete Carmichael at Six Flags Over Texas. I will say, before we dig into these leader profiles, all of these bios were provided by Six Flags Corporate, and that's a really good way for us to check in and see what the brand cares about. The brand is telling us what they want us to know about these leaders, and I think that's worth digging into. We start with Chris Mortensen at Canada's Wonderland. Chris is a 24-year veteran who actually started his career right there at Wonderland. And we're going to see a pattern of that here, right? The brand did something I recognize as a really good thing all around. For the most part, they sent hometown heroes back to places that missed them. It's wise from a business perspective too. I mean, every park has unique needs, and corporate sent beloved specialists to places where they can do the most good as quickly as possible. It's basically fast lane for organizational buy-in. Chris is a steward of machinery whose eccentricities he has known since he was basically a kid. And that history is going to be really, really helpful as he, grows into Alpenfury. Man, I watched a POV the other day. I love a good stall, and that ride looks incredible. At Carowinds, we have Bridget Bywater. With 36 years of experience, Bridget is known for a people-first philosophy. And I believe she's going to be an excellent leader at a park that has relationship opportunities between the park, the guests, and corporate. Her safety background also provides the technical oversight required to maintain long-term confidence in Fury 325. Colleen Brady at Cedar Point is a 31-year veteran who rose from the front line to VP of Ops. Her mandate in Sandusky is stability. Top Thrill 2 has had some struggles, and Siren's Curse absolutely doesn't need any. Colleen is the stabilizer that's there to ensure the new tilt coaster technology launches with the reliability that the Cedar Point brand was built on. Tony Caraviano is the cultural anchor for Kings Island. With 42 years in the business, he's a guardian of the park's identity. And while he's managing the expansion of Camp Snoopy, his real role is protecting the family tradition and the wooden coaster legacy of the Beast. He's going to ensure that as the park moves into a high-tech future, it doesn't lose the charm that makes it a local legend. Mike Fennell is taking the reins at Great Adventure during a massive transition. He is there for Project Purple. With the departure of King Dakar, Mike is the bridge between that hydraulic past and whatever the electromagnetic future brings. He's there to manage the transition and prepare the groundwork for that record-breaking launch coaster coming in 2027. At Knott's Berry Farm, we have Rafi Kaperlan, a man with 47 years of industry weight. If this isn't your first Necronomicon video, you know my love for Schwarzkopf loopers, and we really need to see a resolution for the Montezuma project, one way or the other. And if I'm going to hear bad news, I'd rather Rafi give it to me, frankly. John Krajnik is at the helm of Great America through its 50th anniversary. With 32 years in marketing and ops, he's the leader tasked with the launch of Wrath of Rakshasa. His goal is to prove the park's flagship status through operational precision, providing a steady hand during a year that's as much about the park's future as its legacy. Brian Ording is a transplant from Carowinds. He's the exception to the homecoming hero rule. And his mission at Magic Mountain is discipline. He's there to bring a consistent operational style to a park that's historically struggled with ride downtime and closure issues. Brian's success will be measured by ride availability, ensuring the thrill capital of the world has its fleet open and ready for guests. In Georgia, Richard Pretlow is the revenue architect. He brings a disciplined approach to operational strategy, focusing on smoothing out the guest flow and professionalizing the infrastructure. He's got Georgia Gold Rusher new and ready, and it's going to be great to see how that attraction and Richard's leadership really impacts Six Flags Over Georgia. And finally, we have our own Pete Carmichael. Pete is a 27-year veteran who started as a ride ops intern at Six Flags New England in 2000. We'll get into his career here in a little bit in more detail, but he's here to be a mechanic. From overseeing the Wicked Cyclone conversion in Massachusetts to developing the Quantum Accelerator in St. Louis, Pete knows machinery. He is the bridge that takes us from the visible winds of the past decade into the engineering era of the future. That experience is vital because Pete is stepping into a park that's currently at an engineering crossroads. We are experiencing difficulties in the capacity and uptime department, and I believe that Pete's going to be a real breath of fresh air here. With the daily reality of our current fleet, Pete is the specific leader tasked with ending the one-train blues on New Texas Giant, Mr. Freeze, and Titan. His primary project isn't just Tormenta, it's the resurrection of everything around it. Jeffrey Siebert was a master of the very visible win. He absolutely got everything repaved, repainted, everything looks fantastic. But the work that Pete has in front of him is largely invisible. It's PLCs and connectors for Mr. Freeze and sensors and things like that that are really easy to get lost in the shuffle of going to a park or experiencing a park. What I'm hoping is that Pete becomes as visible as Jeffrey was. I want to see Instagram pictures of Pete having a selfie with a welding crew at 2 in the morning. I need him to be able to champion the great things that he's doing, because without that communication to the fans and to the park guests, it's going to look like nothing is really happening, when in actuality a very great deal is going to happen at Six Flags Over Texas. And so I just want to make sure that that we see that we key into that, and that we support Pete in his endeavor. Not to paraphrase John Lennon, but all I'm saying is give Pete a chance. I'm so sorry. If you're willing to put up with that, I would really appreciate a like, a subscribe, and maybe even a share. And until the next video, I hope to get stuck in line next to you.